So if you know me, you know that I've never been a person not to give a fuck. In fact, I have many a fucks, and I give them away freely. Sometimes it's the fuck you, other times it's a fuck off, but most times it's a fucking right. In any case, the passion supersedes the purpose, and I think this to be a good thing. It means that I actually care. But I often find myself in spaces where compassion is a currency far too expensive to be given away freely. So callous people hold themselves like hammers, nailing everyone else to the ground, and calamity rains down in the form of their feet, or anyone's fists, or Supreme Court justice, or a prison, or a pipeline. Pick your poison, place it inside the ground, and watch how pollution blooms into the planet and the people and the plants and the animals and the air. You want to know why I think we here? I think it's to care about everything all at once. You can't silo the suffering any more than you can silence the oppression. They are mutually inclusive. One cannot breathe without the other, and they spill into everything, bleed in the blood, stain a lineage like bleach inside the body. Go on. You can look away, turn your head, but I promise this toxic environment will still kill you dead. So don't bring your apathy around these parts. Bring your heart wide open. It is a key to the code you think can't be cracked. But here's the catch. Giving a fuck has never needed a password to begin with. It just takes a little bit of courage and a lot of bit of love. And the thing about love is that it gets too good of a rap, because love is really grimy. It's dirty. It's the rag no one wants to touch. Its only job is to wipe away every mess. So here, pick it the fuck up. Everybody want to cook, but can you keep your kitchen clean? Everybody say they care, so can you show me what that means? Do you know how to flower a person before they are planted in the ground, or do you only care about spirits when they are finished making sounds? A wizard once said, pity the living, Harry, and never the dead. And I swear to God, that was the realest words I've ever heard from a fiction. Listen, I don't know how many lives have been saved by poems that's been written, but I know a smile from a stranger has added to my survival. I know a hand on my shoulder has made me feel less alone. I know laughter is my favorite way to break a silence. I know little things are just little things, and you were once a little thing too, and look at how good you've grown. I know compounding is the best formula for exponentiality. So what if we let love stack like stock options? What if we let it grow like a garden? What if you held on to it like the hand of a child you find worthwhile? Love is compassion compressed inside of a person. Love is a weapon we all too often mistake for weakness. Love is the only reason I have yet to lose hope in you.
All right. Why is it so much? It feels so much different talking on a mic than like just talking to you right here. But I want to make this like a real conversation, that I have all the time.
Can we do this? Can we orient the chairs like toward each other a little bit?
Yeah.
That might make it feel a little better. And I'll hold this too.
Yeah.
So you don't feel
I gave you that one, so.
I know, I like it here.
Yeah,
I like it close.
That's a nice, like it here. It's my emotional support microphone. Well, welcome to What It's Like podcast. This is Zach Blunt.
Hi, hello.
I'm Kaylee Ashland.
Hey, Kaylee.
Hey. It's such an honor to have you here today. It's such an honor to know you, I feel. You have such a beautiful gift.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for the poem. That's one of my favorite ones of many of yours. Yeah, I think the thing about poetry that I'm seeing is like, it's such a unique way to be vulnerable. Like all art forms are vulnerable, right? Like music and painting, you know, it's
dance, all theater.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll kind of put yourself out there.
Right. It's a part of yourself that you're opening up to other people.
Yeah. For criticism.
Right. Yeah. Like your soul is out there. But it's so interesting too, how like, it's more like, it's okay to share it that way, but it's like so hard to just like have these conversations sometimes, you know?
Oh yeah. I totally get what you mean with that. It's definitely a space where, and I think that's partly because like when you write or when you create, you're doing it in a space that's generally unchallenged, right? It's usually most artists, I don't know about most, but I know as an artist, I operate very solo dolo. I'm a very loner creator. You know, I actually have to be by myself to create a lot of the times. And when that's the case, I can sit with my thoughts, my feelings, and emotions. I can hash them out with my inner self. Because I think there's a version of us that like goes along to get along, and there's a version of ourselves that sits deeper than that has the ability to call ourselves out on our own bullshit. And when we sit with ourselves, we can have that conversation with both those versions, right?
Yeah.
And so that dialogue, when it's happening with someone that's outside of yourself, I think it tends to lean toward that go along and get along person, right? That person that's gonna just like, okay, we can have this conversation, but I'm not gonna really tell you the deeper shit. But you can't lie to yourself,
right?
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was listening to this podcast the other day, and it was talking about how we're like kind of from like all the isolation we've had, you know, with COVID, and like now you can order, you don't have to go to the store, you can order anything from your phone.
For
like
sure.
The human interactions have gotten like minimal, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like force people to look at themselves and sit with themselves. And so there's this like crisis of like, what do I believe in, and who am I? And also with, you know, like losing faith in like the government and stuff, like becoming like a nationwide thing. And it's like so many people identified themselves with that. So it's like they've lost identity.
Yeah.
So it's like people are starting to like open up more into that vulnerability, I guess.
Yeah, and yeah, so like when you have that space to do that, and then you can create something from it, and you share it with the world, right? It goes, I'm gonna say unchallenged, at least for this time span that it's performed, or time span that it's seen. Like if it's a painting, you know, you don't challenge the painting until after you take it in. If it's a poem, you don't challenge that poem until after it's been completed, right? Then you can have a conversation with me about it, you know? No one's cutting me off mid-sentence and be like, I don't agree with that, you know?
It's a place where people will hold space for you to share vulnerable things.
And I don't think we get that enough in real life.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think people are bad listeners.
Yes, absolutely. People are just like waiting to respond, or like, and it's like people are so protective of themselves. I feel like if it's just hard to have like those deep conversations, those vulnerable conversations that allow for connection, you know? I don't know. I think it's gotten better. I feel like people are more like friendly now. Like they're like,
think so?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
From when though, you know?
In Austin. I don't know, the last few years.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I feel like COVID just like allowed people to start being like assholes to each other.
It accelerated that.
Yeah.
Like I saw it happening already before it. But yeah. COVID really like put the fucking burners on that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I think it's cool that like, cause you know, I've been out here, you know, for a couple days now, and you show me some cool spaces with people who, you know, frequent the space often. And it's like, oh yeah, these are people I know, and those are people that I see around. And so it's like a community that's happening where it's like, there's different levels and tiers to that.
Right.
And like, I love that because like, that's the kind of shit that you only got like when you're in like high school.
Right.
You know, once you're an adult, it's like, yo, you don't get that unless you're like creating it or intentionally find that out. It's like, I think that's really dope. I get that from my like poetry community.
Right.
You know what I mean? Cause
yeah.
like,
Community is so important.
It's so fucking important.
Community's healing. Like, I mean, different people just like bring different sides of you and they make you look at yourself and how you interact with people, and like if you're being selfish or, you know, being an asshole for no reason, it's like that gets challenged when you're around people, you know? So you have to like, it's like a community like humbles you in a way if you're like truly a part of it.
Yeah. Cause you don't want to lose it. Do you think that's why, or?
I mean, no, I don't feel like I'm holding on for dear life.
Got you.
Yeah.
Then, like,
I think
how does it humble you, if you don't mind me asking?
Like, well, just like in a way, like you to be friends with a bunch of people, you can't be an asshole. You know, you don't want to be a shitty friend.
I always say this, right? Like, I think like in Houston, like my Right About Now poetry family, it's like a self-cleansing environment, you know? And I don't think that we're like pushing out folks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It just does it.
It does it on its own.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's for you, you're going to stay. And it's for you if you come and try and stay for the right reasons. There's some people come, they want to get clout, you know what I mean? And they want to like just gain from it without giving to it. And I think those people are always going to find themselves out.
Yeah.
It's like, I always wonder like what people think keeps something together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's just like, it's learning to interact with each other, and like, well, I think it also humbles you in a way where you have to be forgiving and like not take shit personally, you know? If somebody has to bail on something, they gotta bail.
Exactly.
We're adults, dude.
Yeah,
like I can't take that personally.
For sure.
And I'm not gonna like put all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
You know, if someone bails on me, I'm gonna just fucking go.
And that's the point of the community, is like, yo, someone can bail, but everyone else is still there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Or I'll end up being around, or probably seeing one of them somewhere.
Yeah.
Or being where they are. Yeah. So I don't know, but it's such a, yeah, I guess it heals you a lot. It makes you look at yourself and I think like I've learned to stop reacting, you know, like I feel like there's a point where my emotions felt like they were me, and like I had to protect them so much, you know what I mean? But now I'm just like, I just don't, I have space there, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't take it, if somebody does something, I'm like, I don't care. It's not at me. And if it is, just tell me and we can chat about it.
I love that. I was actually gonna bring that up, right? Like, I remember I went to a trip with some friends I hadn't seen in a while, and so we're all hanging out, and I know we had like a heated conversation about shit, and what ended up happening there is like I confronted this friend with like the way I didn't like how they were talking to me, you know, and when I really could have just got the fuck up from the table and left. And I think in most instances, people just get up from the table and leave.
Right.
Versus just sitting in that discomfort.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's what community is. That's what family is. Like, you don't fucking leave your house because your mom yelled at you. Some people do. But, you know, like, for the most part, that's still family.
Right.
You're still
exactly.
gonna show up. So
yeah, show up.
It's
and
important.
that's showing up for a friendship. Like, setting a boundary is not saying I want this friendship to end or I don't like you. It's saying I want this to continue, but to continue, I need this from you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is like super, it's okay. Yeah. You know, like I've had conversations too with people where like I've said something kind of short or like snapped a little and they're like, hey, I don't like that. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, it's like, please tell me. Like, I'd rather you just be blunt and like, tell me exactly.
And what's interesting about it is, even if like it's not like I'm so sorry, even if that person's like, no, I did it on purpose and I meant it, then it's still a space for you to sit there. Like, you meant it and I meant what I said too.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
You know what
but
I
now
mean?
you know.
Now we know.
Yeah. Because
now how can we move forward?
Yeah, I feel like I hate so much the like being in that weird area where it's like there's just tension and walking on eggshells and like, or being passive aggressive, dude. Oh my God, I hate people that are passive aggressive, dude. Oh my God.
Pretty annoying.
It's so annoying. Like, just tell me and I'll do it. Or like, we'll fight about it. Like, don't make me feel like I'm doing something wrong and I don't know about it. Mm-hmm. Like, that's your shit.
Yes, you're projecting at that point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It kind of like makes me think too with a poem that I just shared, right? You know, I have that line where I say, you know, love gets too good of a rap. Mm-hmm. It's actually grimy and dirty. Mm-hmm. It's a rag no one wants to touch. Mm-hmm. It's like, it takes work to love someone. It takes work to not get up from the table and leave.
Yeah.
It takes work not to walk away from shit. Mm-hmm. It gets hard. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's love.
Right.
That's cleaning up the kitchen.
But I do want to challenge that.
Let's go.
A little bit.
Let's go.
Okay. So I've been like really on the topic, the idea of love recently. Mm-hmm. And I kind of talked about this in the last episode, just like how, you know, it's just one word and nobody can really like say exactly what it means. You do a really good job of describing it.
In a lot of words that took up 3 minutes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But so it's like all different. So it's like this, it's a connect. Whoa.
Whoop,
whoop, whoop, whoop. It's a connection, tripping over my words. So it's a connection you have with each person, right? It's like this, a connection, feeling like your energy's going towards them and their energy's going towards you. It's like you're a part of them and they're a part of you. And that's like kind of what you're made of, right? Because everything, is the connection and something. And maybe, you know, even if they wasn't always good or whatever, there's something that is still connected to that person. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like exes, for example, like you spend so much time with those people and it's like you share a life together. Yeah. And it's like, it's a part of you. And I think we just like go to like cutting off and being upset about that or it not working out, but it's such a beautiful thing, you know? Like you shared a piece of your life with somebody. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what happened, you will always have that together. But if you think about that and then you kind of think about like spirituality and religion and stuff and people like describe that kind of connection to
divinity.
Yeah. God, higher power, whatever. So it's like, and if you think of that, that's the most pure. And that's like, the goal is like to love like him or whatever. Love like that. Yeah. Be connected, be on the stream. They talk about the stream when you do meditation. And I think that's what they mean, like the love stream. Okay. You know? Yeah. Where it just kind of, you ever have those days where you just feel like you're on it and you're just like, you're making connections, you fucking crush your poetry, like people come up after you, you're having beautiful conversations. That's the stream. Gotcha. So that's love. Okay. And that's what I think is being connected to that pure love. And then you can, and in a mindset of like gratitude and like, gratitude for who you are and how everything made you who you are today. Yeah. You know, those are the best days. Yeah. So that's what I think love is. I don't think it's hard. I think we make it hard as humans because we fear that it goes away or we fear that it's like, it's finite, you know, like we think it's like there's a we need to love this one person and be with them all the time and they can't look at anybody else. Yeah. You know, like I want to keep it. Yeah. It's a fear. It's a human fear. But if you're connected to that love, you don't feel that. So I think you're describing a core principle, or if I have tenets, a tenet of my spirituality, right? Mm-hmm. Which is at its core connection. Like where does that connection go? To me, I don't believe it goes to some divine pie in the sky God or even the universe, right? Like for me at least, like if there's any idea of that going out into the universe, it's extrapolated from my existence right now, right? And so
where connection lies within the core tenet of that is like, for me, and it's in people, it's specifically rooted in connecting to people, is like when I expand my network of people, that expands my spiritual growth.
Yes.
That's the way that I understand it, right? And so like you brought up a really good point, like with an ex, right? Like you did share life with them. You were connected. And when you stop sharing life, you're probably a little bit less connected, but there's still something there, right? It's still an expansion of yourself. There's still some strain there. And we can choose how much we want that to wane, or how much of that we want to keep.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can choose to be friends with our exes.
Right.
Very controversial thing to say.
Yeah. I mean, but not even that, just leaving the door open, like,
Exactly.
for like I don't have to hang out with you, but like, if you fucking need something,
Totally.
you are a part of me. Like,
Absolutely.
you're family.
Absolutely.
You know?
You're a part of this
I will
network
care
of
about you forever.
connection,
you know?
and love and spirituality. And I think where love is slightly separated from me, where you're calling this one and the same, where for me it's different, is because love is the work that you do to create connection. So it's like, that shit doesn't happen. It takes work to make that shit happen. Or else, like, I'll sit in my room all day and just not do it, not work on connection.
But like, what about the connections what about when it's easy?
I love it when it's easy.
Yeah.
I think that's great, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't think
that's
it's
about
always easy.
I think that's about being, I guess that it does take work. It takes work to be in love with life.
True.
You know what I mean? You have to get your ass up and do shit and take that walk, you know, and get to work on time, bitch. You got to do shit to like yourself and to like life. But if you get on that stream of being in love with life, then love is not work. It's so easy. It's so rewarding. It's ever flowing.
Is exercise easy though?
No. But you know what's
And
harder?
you have days where you're in your flow state and where it is going to be easy. But there will be days where it's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
And that's the same way I think about love. Love's an action word to me. Is exercise.
You got to do it on the hard days.
You gotta do it on hard days.
Right.
You're gonna meet that fucking asshole person that you want to cut off, that you want nothing to do with. And for me, empathy and compassion are my core values. And so if that's the way I want to live my life, I can't say fuck that guy.
Yeah. I don't know what day he's having.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I mean when I say that. But like, I totally get your point too. Like, how you see it and view it.
Yeah.
I think we're saying pretty similar things.
Yeah. No, I actually love that perspective. Because I haven't thought about it like that. But I also feel like when you do love a lot and give a lot, on the hard days, it fucking comes back to you. You know, I feel like taken care of on my hard days, but I'm very fortunate. I have like a really cool job, and I can tell my boss I need a mental health day, or like I could be working a lot and working overtime, and she's like, don't come in tomorrow. You know, she's like, you're resting. So it's like, I'm very fortunate in that way to be authentically myself in all of my life right now, and build those connections. I mean, it is exhausting. So sometimes
I'm still playing with I'm sorry, you're gonna say something. Go ahead.
Well, it's just like on the hard days, because of like all the connections I make with my patients and my coworkers, like they'll fucking just say something that is like exactly what I need to hear, or she'll tell me like, go home, you need to sleep, or like, you know, like they'll just swoop in, which is really, I think, really necessary for me, because I do burn out. Like I'll just start doing shit when I'm feeling good, and it feels so good when you're in the flow and you're like, busy, and then I hit a wall and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to get up today
No, I feel that.
for 2 weeks straight, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, back at it again.
And you try to keep that as consistent as possible, but it gets hard as fuck.
It gets hard as fuck. But with the like community, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Yes. And I don't know where I'm at. I'm still trying to like grapple with like ideas and tenets of karma. You know what I mean? I don't know how exactly I feel about it. There are definitely times where I feel like, this shit is definitely balanced. But then there's times and things and stuff that I experience and things that I see where it's like, no fucking way.
Where the fuck did that come from?
No one deserved that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And no way whoever did whatever back then rooted into this. You know what I mean? That shit doesn't make sense to me. But one of the ways that I kind of push for and try to live is like, I think life is inherently gonna have problems. It's just a series of problems, you know, and like the problems. What I try to think about is like you're gonna have good problems and bad problems, and like let's just inherit good problems and try our best not to have bad problems. And even that's a matter of like
it's perspective. It is, it is. I think like I feel like I've healed a lot in the last year, like more than I thought I could. I thought I was like fucked up. I mean, I've had a lot of shit happen. So, you know, I lost my dad when I was 15. My brother committed suicide when I was 19. And that was just, you know, earth shattering. And I never thought I would come to a place where I wasn't angry, and just surviving. I really didn't think.
When did that change for you?
Over the last couple years, but really a lot in the last year.
What was that catalyst for that, you think?
It's just changing perspective. I feel like now that I can use my experience, my life experience to help others and to be a better person. I feel like I'm way more empathetic now because I know what it's like to just be a dead man walking or woman walking. Like I know what it's like to be scared of your own thoughts. I know what it's like to, you know, just be so heartbroken, like beyond anything I could have imagined beforehand. I know what that's like, but it's like everything balances out kind of thing. I now can like fucking cry because it's like the wind hit my cheek just perfect, you know? Because I'm so grateful, you know?
So beautiful. I miss that. Like I feel like I'm like fucking jaded from shit. But like also like I like to what you're saying, right? I've been through crazy shit too. Like I literally lost my home and all my shit, you know what I mean? Whenever my family had to move from New Orleans to Texas because of a hurricane, right? And you know, that tip of the iceberg of tragedies that strikes all of us really, you know? But I have this theory, we was talking about this yesterday, how I think like the people who have been through the most shit are not only the most resilient, but the most compassionate and empathetic. And there's like this inverse relationship to tragedy.
And intelligent. Like, I don't know. I feel like the way our society values knowledge is, you know, it's like school and stuff like that. But having life experience that fucking brings you to your knees and still living through that shit, like how can people not understand that like people like that know something?
There's a value there.
There's a value there. The people like that know what's important. They know when they have nothing left, what's important. When they're on their fucking deathbed, what they want to have accomplished and what they want to feel like they did with their life. You know? Other people are just like stuck in this simulation. You know what I mean?
Rat race, man.
Yeah, the rat race where it's all about money, when it's like, fuck, like I have made it through some poor ass times, dude. You know, and I've survived. My dogs have survived, you know? I remember I first got my dog, there's some nights like I just was getting paid the next day and I ran out of food and I just had to like feed her lunch meat for dinner. And she's happy about it, you know? But I was like crying. I'm like, sorry.
I think dogs like lunch meat better than dog food. Like I just think so.
But I felt so bad. I was like, I don't know. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have your dinner. But like, we made it.
Me lunch meat.
Yeah, she's happy and she's obsessed with me, dude. She's happy as can be. But you know, just I've lived through that shit and it's like I've always figured it out. I've always figured it out. I mean, it's financial stress is awful. Awful. I know that, but I think I've gotten to this place where it's like, I have made it this far, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, if I have debt, like what are they going to do?
Yeah. And,
you know?
And I think there's always a balance to strike between like the life we want to live and like, how do we afford that life? You know what I mean? There's totally a balance to be had there.
Yeah, for sure.
At the same time, I think like extremes are dangerous. You know, I think a person who's like just thinking about how to get the next dollar or like only focus on monetary gains, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
You're gonna get to your fucking deathbed and you'll be like, what the fuck did I do in my life?
Yeah.
Right? And
right.
I think on the inverse side of that too is like, I think if one puts too much emphasis, because I used to optimize my life for ease, right? I used to be like, I want an easy life. And what it led to is complacency. It led to complete amounts of dread.
Yes.
And unsustainable unhappiness.
I call that living in the suburbs. That's exactly what it feels like. I fucking hate the suburbs, dude.
Yeah. No, 100%, right? And so like for me, it was like trying to find a balance between not doing that, which at first it was great. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm chilling. I'm gonna eat some ice cream watch
whatever
TV.
I want.
Yeah.
Do whatever I want.
Fucking pizza roll.
Be irresponsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
not
bad.
Clean up.
Health problems were crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, finances weren't good. And so it was just like, yo, let's strike a balance.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm not the person who just, like, want to work all the time. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy my life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Have meaning.
Yeah, and that's
and purpose.
And again, I think this goes back to, like, the idea of, like, it takes work to love your life. It takes work to love your life.
It does, but it's good work, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the good problems.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it feels good. And cause I don't know. I feel like there's also this like little voice in my head. I don't know if it's like from society or just a little demon in my head or whatever's going on. But that like anytime I try to do like, oh, you need to go take a walk. Like that'll make you feel better. Like my head's like, no, it won't, you fucking idiot. Like, what are you gonna fucking, you know, whenever you start like being vulnerable or like start like talking about mental health. Yeah. It's probably society too, a lot like stigma, but yeah, where I'm just like, shut up, you fucking idiot. Nobody wants to hear about this.
That's like the chorus of shit that's going on in the head. You know, like at the top of the episode right now, I was just talking about how like it's like the inner self and then like the superficial version.
Yeah.
But like there's
the
probably
ego?
more. Yeah, the ego. But there's probably more than just those two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, like that makes a lot of sense. Like the thing, like once you're able to like logically think about, okay, this is what I need, and then there's something else pops up, you're like, yeah, no, you don't. You know?
Yeah.
It's pretty annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think like mine is always telling me like first like I just gotta go to the gym next morning.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like what's one more day?
Right. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow.
Yeah.
I fucking do that a lot. Especially when things start getting heavy. Then things start piling up, and then it feels so overwhelming that I can't even do one thing on my list. You know.
Yeah.
So I try to start like, all right, one thing at a time. What can I do right now?
Yeah.
Okay, do it. Call that place. Make that appointment, you know?
Yeah.
God, do it. 3, 2, 1, go. You gotta like 3, 2, 1, go yourself, you know?
Yeah.
It's rough being an adult. Yeah, it does. Yeah. And man, you did challenge my perspective on that. I guess it is. Loving yourself is a fucking dirty rag.
It's just hard as fuck, bro.
Huh?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard as fuck to love yourself every day.
Were you trying to do the deep voice?
I was like, I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It is hard to love yourself, but it's so worth it. Oh my God, it makes life so much easier. You stop giving a fuck what people think. If you're your own best friend, you're just always hanging out with the coolest person ever, you know?
Yeah. Someone's telling me too, like, and I believe this, and it's something that, and like, I've always thought about it this way. I always thought about like confidence is backed up by competence, right? So like, when you're good at something, you're going to be confident in your ability to do it. But someone like recently brought it to my attention that that's different than self-esteem. That's different than like how you feel about yourself. I know for a fact I'm a great poet.
Right.
I fucking know that. But like, do I love Xach? And that's different than being a great poet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like your identity is in that, but it's not.
It's not the totality.
It's not all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like mental illness. Like you could be diagnosed with a mental illness, but that's not. I think that's a big thing too. That's not all of who you are.
Yeah.
Everybody's so complex, you know? And I work with people like not guilty by reason of insanity. And like, you know, some of the crimes, like I feel like, you know, seeing it on the TV, I'd be like, fuck that person. They're a piece of shit, you know?
Yeah.
But like, they're people, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody should be judged by the worst thing they did.
I agree.
Yeah.
Nor should we make the best thing we did our whole identity.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. All of it. We're humans are so complex, and I think we know each other, but the thing is we're constantly getting to know ourselves.
Yeah, I think that you can take the aggregate for what it is, which is like, yeah, generally this is how people behave, but there's a fucking unique individual behind every fucking fleshy sack.
Right. I could do anything after this. You know what I mean? I heard this quote the other day. It's like, you have no responsibility to be who you were 10 minutes ago.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
That's
like
cool as shit.
And you can, and I think it's cool too.
God, that's so freeing, but also hard as fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can be whoever you want to be. And I think realizing that is so freeing, because it's like, they tell you that when you're a kid and you think it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be president. And then you get older and you're like, I'm not going to do anything. I live in the suburbs, you know? And then you get out of that and you're like, I can do anything if I fucking do it. You just gotta fucking do it. And you gotta make mistakes, and mistakes, I feel like in society we've condemned mistakes so much, you know, where it's like, how do we learn? How do we learn? And that's what like I'm trying to do at work, is like restoration. And it's like, okay, how do we learn from this mistake? And also what happened before that led to this? Yeah. And it's like the stories that lead to it. It's like, wow, like maybe in those shoes, I would have made similar decisions. Like I can't imagine being in that position, you know? But that's how we have to have these vulnerable conversations, so we can learn from each other and learn as society. I mean, like if we could all bring our best to the table, just exactly who we are, our best to the table, like how, and worked together in that, how beautiful could society be? How advanced could we be? You know, if we listened to each other and stopped having like, you know, I don't know, started having like more debates about philosophy and beliefs, and like,
it's my favorite thing to do.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, because you look at, like, you watch the news and you see the politics going right now, and it's a fucking zoo. It looks like a reality TV show. Yeah. It's gross. And it's like everybody's just like rat race. It's money. It's money and greed. And it's not for us. Like, what are we doing here as people? We don't know what the fuck happens when we die, and we're literally all gonna die. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I don't think everyone's necessarily bringing their best. I do think everyone's trying their best, which is hard to sit with, because it's like that's your best. Yeah. You know?
Right. Yeah.
That.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, I'm a firm believer. Like empathy to the nth degree. So like if that's the case, then like I think that had my situation been different, I could see how someone ended up the way they ended up. I could see how they collective experience and data that they collect out of the entirety of their life have formed them to be in the position that they're in today. And to
only have their perspective, because that's all they have.
Exactly.
And like, and learning to be empathetic.
And how like, if that was me, I'd probably be somewhere similar to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah. And learning to be empathetic takes a lot. It takes a lot of pain, honestly, I think. And it's hard, but like some people only have their own perspective. They're stuck here. They're not able to connect and think, oh, how would this person feel in their situation, how they grew up, what their life looks like.
I think it takes a lot of like radical honesty and the ability to like have your idealism and your grand like illusion shattered. Right? Like whatever you think you know, you're probably wrong about.
Right. What do we know? We don't even know what happens when we die, dude. And everyone dies. It's, you know, and we don't question it. And we don't know what love is, and we don't know what that connection means, but we all feel it. Yeah. You know? And it just, that has to be. Which
is so interesting.
Yeah. And that has to just be like a question for everybody. Like, why aren't we questioning this? Why aren't we challenging this? Why aren't we challenging ourselves and trying to grow? Yeah. Like, what are we in? We're in some false reality, you know? Like, it's not real.
I think there are a lot of good people challenging those types of things. I think you're right. I think with social media, with like just all the different things to have one's attention, like a lot of people aren't paying attention to those types of things.
Yeah. You know? Yeah.
Which is interesting to me. I don't want to say it's like just a bad thing. It puts me in despair, but it's just interesting to see like, okay, that's what the ethos.
Right.
That like people want dance videos over philosophy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. To do the same repetitive dance move. So yeah, I was listening to this podcast the other day. And this guy was talking about, how, people just want to have something. Like people just want to have things. They want to have moments. They want to have sex. They want to, you know, have attention, you know, these quick fixes, right? Have a high, but to give yourself to something, to be in love, like that's vulnerable. That takes courage, you know. The rest is just like this instant thing, and then we're constantly chasing it. Yeah. But when we give ourselves to something, it's like, you know, the love connection. You're giving a part of you to someone else to have, you know. So as society, we've stopped being in love. We've stopped feeling it, you know. I have this theory about like, I guess like karma and like the shit you were talking about earlier. And I was talking to my older half brother about it. Cool. And he, you know, like my stepdad's in hospice right now with stage 4 cancer. And it's just like, it feels like shit never stops. And his friend just like randomly died from like a random health condition that they didn't know they had. Wow. And she was like young. Shit. And he's just been through a lot. Like he lost his best friend. He's like, we're Baker blood, I guess, you know, like it's something with our family. I don't know. But he's like really, spiritual and like, you know, has all these big, beautiful visions. And, we talk a lot about like philosophy and he challenges me, and he's somebody that called me one day. I was like really down, and he said exactly what I needed to hear to change my perspective, because I just was in one of those days where it's like everything fucking sucks, you know. Yeah. Why me, you know? Yeah. And he just challenged my perspective, and I asked him, I was like, do you think that we were like supposed to go through a lot so we could like learn a lot? And he was like, yes. He answered me like so quickly. So it's like this theory, like if you can learn to heal, if you can figure out how to heal, which that is hard. That's that dirty rag, you know. Yeah. Figuring out how to love yourself and heal. Then you can start like sharing your knowledge and this gift and appreciating life in such a cool way and feeling enlightened, you know? But it takes work to get there. It takes work to keep it. It doesn't stay.
Yeah.
It's changing your perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's so powerful, you know, to be able to change your perspective. Yeah. And like I said earlier, I never thought I would be in a place where I could understand why any of this shit happened to me, you know? But now I feel like so grateful for the person I am today and everything that made me that person. You know?
Yeah.
When you learn to love yourself.
I think that goes exactly to what I believe is like, and I don't like, there's nothing really concrete to back this up, but yeah, I do think when you go through shit, when you go through hard shit, it makes you more resilient. It makes you better for it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if that's how it should be. I don't know if that, like, why it is that way. You know what I mean? I don't think that I would like to, if I was creating the world, I wouldn't be like, the person who goes through the worst shit has the best perspective.
Right.
Like,
yeah. But it's like, maybe you have to, like, you have to go through that. So there's this like idea in like a spirituality where it's, where like your higher self signs this contract. It's like, I'm going to come to earth and I'm going to go through this, this, and this, and it's going to teach me this, this, and this.
Okay.
About life and myself. And then I'm going to be able to share that.
Gotcha.
So if you're like on your life path, if you're all,
Gotcha.
you know, in that space where it's everything's
You have to go through
lining
those so
up.
you can start to share that gift.
Right. So you can share the gift and help humanity or whatever. Like, so I
Interesting.
really like that perspective because, I mean, really, the idea is just, and I don't know if it's my life path or whatever. I know I feel better when I listen to whatever
The
that part of
calling
me is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know I feel better when I feel like I'm doing the right
purpose
thing.
is? Do you think we have purpose? Do you think like that's specific to the person? Do you think we can find our own purpose and that could be different today from tomorrow?
I believe we do, but even if that's not true, I think it's important to find purpose, to give something purpose. So my brother committed suicide, and now I work with patients in a psych hospital, and I connect with them and I show them empathy and love, and they trust me.
That's beautiful.
Trust me. You know, people that have been broken by everybody, they're completely heartbroken.
I love that so much more than this innate like idea that people just are born with a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think some people really do believe that. It was like, it's my destiny to like be a singer. It's my destiny to become a preacher. It's my destiny to whatever. You know, it's be a teacher. You hear that one a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, no, shit happened in your life, and you had skills and gifts that aligned with that. Right. And that's where you decided. Yeah. You're gonna
like, you can decide.
Energy.
Yeah. Right.
You
well,
know?
I think it's I don't know. I can get behind that, but I also think sometimes we just need to believe in a higher goal, a higher, like, there's something.
And it don't matter how you got there, right?
Right. Yeah. Just something, there's some reason and rhyme to all of this, and maybe I'll understand it at a later time.
Got you.
You know?
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah.
I definitely try not to be too cynical on religion.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I'm just like,
I think it all comes from like the same place, though.
Yeah.
It all comes from that love connection, you know, that community, that, you know. Yeah. I think it all comes from that. And I think that's the same feeling when you're like in love with life and you're doing, I don't know, maybe what you're supposed to. You know, when you're in line with that love connection, maybe you're in line with something divine, you know, pure, whatever. Yeah. When you're in line with that, then things are easier and they're like better and they're.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's what the flow state is. You know, it's like, yo, we're tapped in. The music's hitting. The spiritual, like, entities are hitting.
Right.
People around you are hitting.
Yeah.
And all cylinders are firing, you know, and you're under the spell of, like, everything in sync, working for you.
Right. Yeah. And realizing, like, I think society does such a good job of isolating people and, like, saying, you know, like I don't know how everybody's different and ranking people. This guy's homeless and that guy's rich, you know?
Yeah.
Like, when I think a big part of humility is realizing that we all have something to bring to the table. And the table always has room, you know? We always have room to grow. We always have something to learn from. Someone has a perspective that can challenge something, you know, but we've gotten into this place where it's like right and wrong and this person's that and that person's this and
so
right. And it divides us and it isolates us, but it's like,
it's the antithesis of building community.
Right.
It's the antithesis of growing this spiritual connection.
Right.
We're talking about so much.
Right. With everybody.
Yeah.
With everybody.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what.
It's fucking hard, though.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. I've had patients that have come from the streets, like homeless and stuff, and they have said things to me that there's no way they would have known. Like, they just see it. They see things that we don't.
Got you.
They are, like, beyond empathetic. Like, it's like, I feel like I'm like an empath in a way where I can feed off of people's emotions, and I can, you know, if you started crying about something, I'd probably tear up, you know, like I can feel people's emotions, I think. But I think sometimes with mental illness, it's like a sensitivity to that empathy and that love connection, and where you can just, and maybe beyond that, like how we still feel that for people that aren't here, and we're still connected to that. Like, maybe they're more connected to that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they have something to fucking teach us if we just, like, could validate them and fucking listen.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think everyone's experts at their own life.
Right.
So it's like, what can I always say this, right? This goes like my poetry is, I love going to open mics. I love watching poets from all walks of life, backgrounds, and skill sets and skill levels, because I'm always going to learn. Even if it's what not to do, I can still learn. Right. You know? Exactly. And so a lot of lessons that life teach you is what not to fucking do. Mm-hmm. You know? It's like, I've been there. Trust me. Don't go that route. Right. Yeah. And a lot of hard-headed people. Right. Figure it out for themselves, but
right. Yeah. And allow them to give them that space.
Yeah. Give them that space, but also give people platforms and spaces to talk about the pitfalls. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, going back to, like, allowing people to make mistakes. Like, people are so scared to make a mistake. And, you know, you see it in the workplace too. It's like, oh, fuck, like, I don't want to get in trouble with my boss, but it's like, we're human. Yep. Let's have those conversations. Tell me what I can work on. Tell me what I can do better. Yeah. Tell me what you expect from me. Mm-hmm. And tell me if there's something I'm doing wrong. Yeah. You know, so we can grow. It's like, we're so scared of failing and being canceled or whatever, that we don't have the vulnerability, you know? Like, vulnerability is hard in this society. Yeah, it is. I literally was going to send an email at work that had something I wrote after my brother's suicide. I was, like, going to send it out because it was, like, Suicide Prevention Week. Yeah. And my boss's boss was like, no, it's too raw and it might trigger people. And I was like, trigger who? Wow. My brother killed himself. Yeah. Trigger the people that think they know what people that have lost someone to suicide want to hear. And
what's so interesting about that is, this is what I fucking hate most about nonprofits, is that they want to appease everybody. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, you are being so shallow that you're reaching no one.
Right. Yeah.
And specificity, detail orientation,
Right.
matters so much to pierce the hearts and souls.
Right.
Folks.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to do that for everybody.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be for everyone. But for what it is, you have to go deep.
Right. Yeah.
Surface.
And that thing I wrote is like, it's raw feelings. It is. And I don't feel that way anymore.
But it was necessary to the time.
It was necessary. It was exactly how I felt at the time. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong to feel that way or whatever my perspective was right or wrong. It was just real.
But it was.
It just was what it was. Yeah, it's just what it was. And I had to be okay with that. I had to learn how to be okay with that. I had to learn how to be okay with not knowing if I would ever not be angry. You know, I had to live with this like hole in my heart.
That's actually really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people walk around like that. I did for a long time, you know, with all their pain on them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. People walk around with their pain and they're like, don't touch it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. And I think I probably even still have like some shit that hurt me harboring somewhere in my body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That goes untouched. That goes unworked on.
Right.
You know? But also it's like so misplaced at this point.
Right.
Like, you know, I don't, to tap into that, either some shit will have to happen that triggers it, or it's like fucking 2 years into therapy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's about getting into the state where, because I used to, you know, I've been through so much, and I kind of went through like a numb survival phase for like a couple years, you know, and I had to like shut down. It was just too much.
Yeah, there's like this line that I'm sorry, I want you to finish this. There's this line that I have that says, remember, this life is meant to be lived, and that's more than just surviving, or something to that effect, right? And to me, it was just such a beautiful piece of work, because I was just like really trying to emphasize the fact that like, yo, a lot of times we're going through the motions. A lot of times we're just doing what we got to do to get to the next day. To be real frank, like sometimes we're just doing what we got to do not to fucking kill ourselves.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
And so
yeah.
it's hard to live a life like that, because I think we miss out on so much joy and beauty. And
right. Yeah. What life is about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The numbing agents just to get through that day.
Right.
Versus like, let's own our shit. Let's feel these feelings.
Yeah.
Through them.
Which is empowering.
Yeah.
It's empowering. It's like taking control of your life, you know? But it's hard.
It's hard as fuck.
It's hard. Yeah, it is hard. But I think, I don't know, I kind of got to this place where I was like really scared to open myself up all the way, because I didn't know what the fuck was going to come out.
Totally scary.
It's so scary. But I think I got to this place where I just started allowing myself to feel exactly how I feel. Allowing myself to validate which is therapy. Most of therapy is just validation, right? So if I learn to love myself and I learn to connect with myself, I fall in love with myself, you know. I can allow myself the space I would allow a friend, you know. And it's like, if a friend's feeling away, it's like, I'm not gonna be like, you don't feel that way.
Yeah.
That's not a good way to feel, you know.
Such a
You could feel any fucking way. It doesn't matter. Just your actions you take, that matters. How, if you take it out on somebody else, that matters. You know.
How do you feel about like fight, flight, and freeze? You know, there's one of my exes, we get into conversations, arguments, debates. She really frees up. And that always bothered me. And, you know, I've grown since then, understanding like, oh, this is how some people respond to certain things. And like, at the time I felt like I was giving her adequate amount of space and time to like sit with that and come back into the fold. She just never come back into the fold. And I would never bring it up either, because it was like, okay, that's again optimizing my life for ease at the time. Right. That's then we're good right now. I don't want to rehash that, because it's gonna like fuck with the balance of this. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And so I didn't bring any of those things
just
up.
Survive, yeah.
Just to like get through a fucking good time.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Which was just like a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm curious, like, what do you think about those reactions?
I mean, I feel like we don't look enough about like nature. We don't look enough at our nature. So if you look at our nature and you see how we respond to trauma, the fight, flight, or freeze, or, you know, whatever, it makes sense. And it makes sense that, you know, we don't, for survival, we kind of like hold on more to like love than anything else, because we're not having to do the things we had to do for survival. Yeah. So our survival mode comes from, you know, like our parents loving us and us seeking that love and validation. And so yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. It makes sense, but you have to learn how to be safe with yourself. Learn how to be safe with yourself, be a safe place for yourself, hold space for yourself, allow yourself to feel how you feel, allow yourself to process how you process, and then you can push past that, you know? But I mean, I think sometimes it just comes naturally when we're dealt with a situation that is threatening or scary, you know? Yeah. But we can push past it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like as a partner, that's like what was clearly one of the, I don't want to say like the downfalls or like something that was like exclusively my fault, because like I think you can try your best to make someone feel safe and comfortable. Right. At the same time, they have to trust that too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Take there.
Yeah. But they have to feel safe with themselves. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, like I said, you know, when the feelings are overwhelming and stuff, and it feels scary to like tap into that, you know. Yeah. And when it could be so much built up, and you don't know how you're going to react, and you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. So I've been practicing, and instead of having those like outbursts that I've had before, I guess, where, you know, I get triggered and there's so much built up that I'm just like, I still get like a little like stressed. When I get stressed, I get a little short, but I think I'm good at apologizing and recognizing that now. But whoa, what the fuck was I just saying? I feel like I keep doing that.
You're good. You're like saying you get short sometimes, but you've gotten better about that.
Oh yeah, so I don't have these like big outbursts anymore where I feel fucking crazy, honestly. Like, you know what I mean? When you just lose control and then there's so much built up and you're like, the fuck is that bitch? You know, not it, ain't it. Like I'm, you know, I become that hysterical woman or that hysterical, mentally ill, traumatized person, you know? And I don't want to be that person. So just holding that space for myself, spending time with myself, creating
cramped.
Creating art and having vulnerable conversations and getting to know myself more and allowing myself space to get to know myself more, to treat myself like a mystery. Who am I? What am I doing? You know, what do I like? What do I want?
Yeah.
It's infinite, you know? And coming more confident in who I am and my strengths.
Yeah.
You know? And knowing my faults, trying to work on them, but also knowing where I'm just not ever going to be good.
Yo, that part, super good.
Yeah.
Super good. I'm trash at this. Let me outsource it.
Yeah. Let me find someone that's good at this, you know? Everybody has something to bring to the table, you know? Yeah. It's cool.
Do you want to wrap it up? I'm like,
wrap it up.
I'm like tired as fuck.
Yeah, I see you.
I gotta get on a roll at
some
point.
Thank you so much for coming out. I am grateful I met you. I know you. Yeah.
Serendipitous moment of encounter for us. And I am so glad we kept in touch.
Me too. Yeah, it's been great getting to know you more and having you here today, and I'm so excited to show you to whoever watches this
Yes.
or listens. So.
Me too. I'll be listening. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Hell yeah. All right. Right on. And cut.